It may arrive with a thud on your doorstep at 352 pages, but Boston Common magazine came in with a splash this week. John has more.
The wraps came off Boston Common, the magazine, Wednesday night as the cream of Boston's celebrity B-list flocked to the South End Cyclorama for the new publication's launch party. Not that notable names were completely absent from the festivities. News anchor for the Age's Natalie Jacobson was there, as were running buddies Steven Tyler of Aerosmith and Tom Menino of City Hall.
They did a story with me, and it was a pretty inclusive story, and I like the magazine, the first read of it.
Tyler admitted he had not read the magazine, but was pleased with it nonetheless.
I love it. Any excuse to throw a party or be a part of something bigger than the whole, I'm there.
And it was no mean feat to be bigger than the whole, considering that Volume 1, Issue 1 of Boston Common weighs in at 352 pages, roughly half of which are advertisements. The rest are generally devoted to stroking the power players of Boston and depicting the well-to-do doing what the well-to-do do. And don't forget local luminaries such as Boston Celtics honcho Danny Ainge, Hot Stuff chef Todd English, and legal lightning rod Alan Dershowitz, all of whom double as Boston Common correspondents.
I enjoy it because it's light. I can write with a kind of sense of humor and whimsy, and it's a different audience than I usually write for.
According to the Boston Common website, that audience owns a home valued at over $750,000, earns $250,000 a year, and charges $100,000 a year on credit cards. But editor-in-chief Kim Atkinson says Boston Common is not a celebrity magazine.
In Boston, the people who might be considered celebrities are scientists and academics, politicians, sports stars. So really what we're doing is just celebrating all of these people who make amazing things happen in Boston.
As for charges that the magazine is one big Cuisinart of ads and editorial content, Atkinson says nonsense.
Our advertising and editorial is completely separate. I have full control over everything that happens editorially in the magazine, and it's absolutely a brick wall here at Niche Media.
Of course, that's what they said about the Berlin Wall, too.
Talk about brick walls. I mean, we had a heck of a time having them let us cover this story. You know, they didn't want us really at the party. They wouldn't give us a copy of the magazine once we got there. They kept the press corralled. You weren't, you know, working for us that night. You were partying. Yeah, you were a mole. They kept us corralled in this little area, and then we don't want them in there. Them. I mean, what else is a debut like this for, if not to get the word out and have the media?
Did you send in your credit card receipt for $100,000?
Well, I didn't go. I wasn't either invited nor did I go. But
well, the latest copy of Boston Magazine landed on my desk today, and I was surprised to see the front cover, Steve Tyler. So now, we all know a newspaper war is all about.
Is that true?
It's absolutely true. I mean, what is a newspaper war all about? We know what that's all about. But what about when you're competing for readers who make over $250,000 each? I guess you have to put the white gloves on, have a glass of port, challenge your competitor to a duel. I mean, I think that there's a really smart strategy behind this new magazine, and I think that when you're distributing it free in certain very Tony zip codes, and I think it's a real threat to Boston Magazine. Yeah. I think they realize it in terms of there's a limited advertising base.
I am really surprised by the people gnashing of teeth about the journalism and the ads. Who cares? It's one big sales thing. I mean, do you people read Lucky, Shop Magazine? That's all it is. I say go for it. They should embrace it. Here's the thing that I think they have to worry about in Boston because of the quirkiness of the celebrity. Really hone that Boston franchise. And I say go full throttle, get all the money you want, deliver it all to the wealthy people, and go for it. What's the big problem?
They're going to have to
This is where I insert, if all the kids jump off the Empire State Building, does that mean you should too? I mean, just because Lucky Magazine does it doesn't mean that Boston Common should do it. It doesn't mean any of them should do it. It's not right. It's not the right thing to do. You have to keep them separate.
If you set yourself up as that's what you do. What I'm saying is
that's what they deny they're doing. See,
I know,
that's
exactly.
the problem.
I'm with you on that.
If they just said, look, this is what we do, it's what a lot of other magazines do, so we're jumping off the Empire State Building, that's fine.
Let me be clear. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying that I wish they would embrace that and say it, because that's what Lucky Magazine and Shop Magazine does. They say, here is what we are to sell product. and I think that's what they should do. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting that they should cross the lines. I'm saying embrace what you are and just go ahead with it.
Look at my clothes. Do I look like I read Lucky and Shop magazine?
No, sorry. So,
I don't know what this.
You know, first of all, if you go to the website, you saw that the actual original cover person was in the mock-up was going to be Ben Affleck. So maybe we should be grateful that it turned out to be Steven Tyler. We haven't seen a magazine like this in Boston, to be honest with you. There were magazine wars in the 80s with things like Boston Woman, Boston Business Magazine, and even New England Monthly, but that was about editorial content that Boston Magazine had to fend off. This is an advertising vehicle. There are no stories in there. Danny Ainge's preview of the Celtics season is 3 paragraphs long. James Levine's discussion of the BSO season is 4 paragraphs long. This is a magazine for you to read advertisements in, and I don't think we've quite seen anything like it in the market. I agree with Joe. I think it poses a serious financial threat to Boston Magazine.
The interesting thing about Kim Atkinson's interview there was she basically said there are no celebrities in Boston, so we have to do something different.
What are they going to do next time? They've already covered
I have no idea. I mean,
in about 6 months, we all have a shot of the cover story. So
well, the interesting thing is, if you went to this party, it's like a social biosphere because all the people at the party are in the magazine, pictured at other parties around Boston. So it's this small floating social game that goes on.
They could be town and country for Boston. You know, town and country is pictures of people going to Tony parties, a few little articles in there in between, a great, horoscope on the back. What's the problem?
The pictures were great. One thing I noticed, and it said to me that the magazine was being done out of town, was in a number of pictures, they had the names reversed. So they didn't have, from left to right who the people were. They had no idea who the people were.
Right.
But a couple like Beth Titel, they had wrong. She was at the end of the thing. So they just had them wrong. Of course, you just know that somebody had handed it to me. You can tell what they'd reversed it in one of those photo flip things, but had no idea who the people were, so the names just came out the way they were.
They also shot the fashion spreads down in New York, and
the models
they were quoted, the models are prettier in New York. So nothing like buttering up the people in the town before you launch your magazine.
The closest thing to journalism in there was this thing called The List, which, basically was a list, I'm not sure what it was a list of. I just know I'd like to be on it if there's any way that's possibly arranged.
And the contents line for the
if
list.
If you buy an ad, maybe.
That's true,
The contents line for the list said, "Are you on it?"
Yeah.
And are they going to add to the list or detract from the list? I mean, how's that going to work?
Stay tuned.
Well, the issue is anybody who asks to be on the list can't be on the list. That's their first criterion.
I just want to make it clear that this is not sour grapes for me. I'm just saying embrace your fullness in your product sale and go with it. I think it could be a success if they did that.
All right. Well, the Boston Globe and parent company, the New York Times, announced this week.